Let me welcome you to the Asala Full Moon Poya Day Dhamma program organized by the International Dhamma Program. Most Venerable Dhammajiva Maha Thero, Venerable Theros, our committee members, Dhamma friends. Today we have the Asala Full Moon Poya Day, which is a very significant and important event in the life of the Buddha and also for all Buddhists. Some of the significant events that took place on Asala Full Moon Poya Day is that the Bodhisattva as a prince was conceived by Queen Maha, which happened on the Asala Poya Day. To us in Sri Lanka, Asala specially signifies the first ordination of a man of the soil, Prince Aritta, who entered the order at Anuradhapura under Arahat Mahinda. At the age of 29, the prince decided to leave the palace, leaving all comforts to find a way out of universal suffering on this very Asala Full Moon Poya Day. Then, of course, the most important thing, of course, is the Asala Full Moon Poya Day, is the day on which the Supreme Buddha proclaimed the first discourse, the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, and the wheel of Dhamma was set in motion. Of course, all of you would have been going to temples, and today is the observance of Vas by the Maha Sangha during the rainy season, and I think all of you would have participated at the Vas Pinkama in all your temples. So, let me welcome you to this program today. We are having on the topic of mindfulness, bare attention, and Samma Sati. So we have very erudite Buddhist priest, the Venerable Uda Iriyagama Dhammajiva Maha Thero, who is a revered present-day teacher and is the fourth abbot and chief preceptor of the Mitrigala Nissarana Vanaya. He is highly respected for his widely encompassing knowledge of the various meditation techniques, including Samatha as well as the Burmese Vipassana methods. It was on 16th November 1988, he ordained as a Buddhist monk, adopting the spiritual name Dhammajiva, fulfill his duties to his preceptor and teacher as attendant and nurse for the last 1.5 years of Venerable Matara Nanarama Mahathir. In 1993, he traveled to Burma to train under Sayadur U Pandita Shivamsa. That was 1993 to 1996. Venerable Dhammajiva received intense training under close guidance of Sayadur U Pandita Vivamsa. Returned to Sri Lanka in 1996 at the request of the Nissarana Vanaya Sangha. He has over 40 publications on Buddhist meditation practice and also has translated rare and invaluable Burmese meditation and manuals to Sinhala and some to English. So we are then also the thoroughly investigating the Satipatthana Sutta and the Anapanasati Sutta. His teachings offer step-by-step instructions to cultivate the meditation practice to a stage where the desired results unfolds. Venerable Dhammajiva's contribution to the Sasana continues. Annually, he conducts residential retreats in Australia, Canada, New Zealand, Germany, United Kingdom, USA, and Singapore, and on the invitation of various Buddhist groups. I must tell Most Venerable Mahathera that today, as the International Dhamma Program, on Zoom, we are able to connect up with all these countries. So I think Venerable Mahathera, you'll be very happy that the international audience is present today. Today, our Dhamma program is sponsored by Ivo and Ranjani Gunatilaka, who have been our Dayakas for a long time. And I must thank them very much for undertaking this sponsorship. And also, I wish to remind all our Dhamma friends who are here, if you wish to make any voluntary donations to assist with the operational costs and development work, kindly to the Nissarana Vanaya, kindly let me know and we will be able to assist you in this matter. One of the major projects that started by the Venerable Maha Thero, Most Venerable Dhammajiva Maha Thero is a Sati Pasala, or the mindfulness for school children. I think this is something, a very, very major project started, and I'm sure that Venerable Maha Thero will be speaking about this matter. And this project started for school children, and one of the things that I read there is showing our children the path to happiness is the greatest gift that we can give our children. So I'm indeed very happy that today we have a very large number who have registered. It was close upon 500 numbers, but I'm sure that 60% is the normal number that we have in attendance. So Most Venerable Dhammajiva Maha Thero, we pay merit and thank you for being present today. And may I now invite Venerable Maha Thero to deliver Pansil and then commence the Dhamma program. May I also thank Venerable Panadure Chandraratna Thero, who has been coordinating all the activities, and the Deputy Abbot of the Nissarana Vanaya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Professor. With this invitation, I would like to administer 5 precepts in a normal, traditional way. So everyone participating may recite 3 times Namo Tassa.
Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa.
Buddhaṃ Saranam Gacchāmi.
Buddhaṃ Saranam Gacchāmi.
Dhammaṃ Saranam Gacchāmi.
Dhammam Saranam Gacchāmi.
Sangham Saranam Gacchāmi.
Sangham Saranam Gacchāmi.
Dutiyampi Buddhaṃ Saranam Gacchāmi.
Dutiyampi Buddhaṃ Saranam Gacchāmi.
Dutiyampi Dhammaṃ Saranam Gacchāmi.
Dutiyampi Dhammam Saranam Gacchāmi.
Dutiyampi Sangham Saranam Gacchāmi.
Dutiyampi Sangham Saranam Gacchāmi.
Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ Saranam Gacchāmi.
Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ Saranam Gacchāmi.
Tatiyampi Dhammaṃ Saranam Gacchāmi.
Tatiyampi Dhammam Saranam Gacchāmi.
Tatiyampi Sangham Saranam Gacchāmi.
Tatiyampi Sangham Saranam Gacchāmi.
Saranagamanam Sampunnaṃ.
Ambante
Pānāti pātā vēramaṇī sikkhapadam samadhiyāmi.
Panati Pata Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyāmi.
Adinna dāna vēramaṇī sikkhapadam samadhiyāmi.
Adinna Dana Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyāmi.
Kāmesu micchāchārā vēramaṇī sikkhapadam samadhiyāmi.
Kāmesu Micchāchārā Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyāmi.
Musāvādā vēramaṇī sikkhapadam samadhiyāmi.
Musāvādā Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyāmi.
Surāmēraya majjapamādaṭṭhāna vēramaṇī sikkhapadam samadhiyāmi.
Suramere Majjapamādaṭṭhāna Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyāmi.
Tisaranena saddhiṃ pañcasīlaṃ dhammaṃ sādhukaṃ surakkitaṃ kattvā apamādena sampādē tabbang.
Ambante sadhu sadhu sadhu.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammā sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammā sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammā sambuddhassa. Satikvāhaṃ bhikkavē sabbāttikaṃ vadāmīti. Dear Dhamma friends, today being the Asala full moon day, it's a remarkable day for Sri Lankan Buddhism as well as for the international Buddhist affairs as well as for our individual life. And being so, we have selected mindfulness as the basic topic for the day's talk. After that, we can have a brief discussion about the content as well as our personal experience regarding the mindfulness. And I think that is the most important thing for our spiritual development as well as the backbone in the personality. So I quoted this Satikwaham Bhikkhave Sabbatikang Vadami. That is, that you find in the Bojjhanga Sutta, whereby Buddha is giving a kind of a simile, the beginning or at the outset you see some Sati Sambojjhanga, and then there are three couple. First thing is Dhammavichaya, Virya and Piti. The second part is Passaddhi, Samadhi and Upekha. So these two sets appearing after the Sati is kind of two mental attitudes. The Virya, Dhammavichaya and Piti is energized. They are keeping you up. Whenever you feel lowly, you can develop them so that mind will get energized. Whenever you feel over-energized, or we'll say mind get agitated like extra energy, then you have to cultivate Passaddhi, Samadhi and Upekha. I hope many of you may understand the word meaning of these terms. I will also try to incorporate while in the talk. So first and foremost, the yogi himself or the ascetic himself must understand where is the biasness in my mind. Because I must stress this, these Virya, Dhammavichaya and Piti are outcome of your good meditation or result for your meditation. Passaddhi, Samadhi and Upekha also. So already hard earned, these mental concomitants are fighting each other like. So if you can't read it or if you can't compensate it, then you may get a imbalance towards the Noble Eightfold Path or middle path. So therefore this subtle balance at this juncture is very important, and therefore it is very subtle as well as decisive towards the transcendental side of your development. Or I would say up to the 7 factors of enlightenment, mindfulness as such or satya as such could be used for worldly aspects as well as for the transcendental aspect, Lokuttara and Lokiya. For example, present day, the Western Buddhism, present day, the scientific Buddhism is hardly concerned about the Lokottara or transcendental part, and they are highly based upon the worldly aspect like stress reduction, increasing of your memory and psychiatric balance. These are the things. So we call they are therapeutic or healing kind of. So I studied and I followed that for about 30 years, why this trend is always to the worldly side and materialistic side. But anyway, while it is developing in the Western world, Western arena, it was a big shades of meaning for me to understand how the mindfulness is understood by a non-Buddhist and therapeutic people and healing, and it was quite helpful for me because at the beginning of the mindfulness or mindful practice for myself as a person was never aimed at transcendental part. I was just a raw undergraduate, and I was studying, and limited interpretation, limited definitions given in the Tipitaka and the commentaries are not, I am fully master, but they are a little in the scope. But whenever I read these Western interpretations, they gave a big arena and opening the windows and doors, and therefore it was very dynamic. But later, if I am to mention the historical development, about 5 years ago, they were thinking about the, instead of therapeutic and healing mindfulness, preventative kind of mindfulness. They coined the term emotional literacy. They coined the term emotional intelligence. It happened after the World Trade Center got the terrorist attack. They were thinking, Harvard University, as well as the Mind and Life Institute, as well as His Holiness Dalai Lama and others, how one can be so brutal to imagine, to plan, to kill about 15,000 or 5,000 people. They found that is their emotions. They recognize 7 destructive emotions. And then once emotion come, you can tackle it through therapy or healing, but it will not give a assurance unless otherwise you tackle the root cause. That means prevention. Simply put, prevention is better than cure. And that was a big happiness for me. Even the Western sphere is maturing. And I was waiting for that. And by that time, I was thinking about how to present this idea to the world, and what is the stage, what is the target group it must be. So when it is happening only, that when that kind of overflowing and cascading of the ideas and thoughts happening only, Western countries themselves, Daniel Goleman and Richard Davidson and others, they came out with this idea. And immediately I thought it's a kind of a good precedence for me. Of course, I copied these terms because many are, even in Sri Lanka, learning this subject in English medium because it's very positive language. It's short to the point. But if you go to the Pali, Sinhala, Sanskrit, they are the original languages, but they are negative languages. Very difficult to put them something in a dramatic way. Very difficult to put something in a eventful way. So therefore, I was born in very remote village, and I found when I go to the village temple, how the monks are giving talks and how much it is being communicated to the listeners. There is a substantial amount, but there are no cross-checks. There are no pragmatic part, because listening to Dhamma is a merit. And understanding Dhamma is a higher merit, and practicing Dhamma is the highest merit. That's a lesson I learned from Burma. Otherwise, what we do is listening. Good enough. After 2,600 years, someone is preaching and others are listening. And how much it is absorbed, how much it is kept in the mind, and how much put that into practice, and what are the under-the-nose practical experience, we have no any idea, because we trust Buddha, we trust Dhamma, we trust Sangha, we trust Sila. So whenever someone is going for scientific side and try to see the verifiability, does that indicate, does Buddha needs, the omniscient one needs the scientific backup, scientific proof? Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi handle this issue. And it is happening, And what is happening is for the Sasana, together with the worldly development, laity development. But we from Sri Lanka, I am a Buddhist monk, I am living in a forest. So I just wanted to see this picture, and there I was thinking about the target group. Because when I was in the university, when I was in the postgraduate, not a single one interested in. Because I did scientific subjects, but when I was in the Peradeniya University, there was a small group called Veluwana Dhamma group. Now the presently faculty club is there, but earlier it was a very serene place whereby some of the senior members and Buddhist visitors used to be there and sitting 1 hour a day, 1 hour a week and 1 hour talk. I was participating 3 years continuously. It was completely away from my university course, and that was a turning point for me. And that is the point where I came to know the book, The Power of Mindfulness, written by Venerable Jnanaponika, just 4 miles away in Kandy. And they introduced that's the best way to start spiritual life. Person like me in the university, a raw graduate, because I have no any senses about the ethical values, ethical moral responsibilities, taking about the precepts. Then the Venerable Dhammika, Godwin Samanratna, and Parakrama Fernando, Professor Lakshman Jayatilaka, all the people told me, just you practice mindfulness and see what is going to happen. Instead of changing lifestyle and going for precepts and kind of thing. And it was a very inviting thing for me. Now I am talking after 40 years later. Now I see when it started, and now I have to think about where to target. What must be the target group? I thought, because I heard through politicians, in Sri Lanka, there were a lot of insurgencies, terrorist and Trastavada issues. Not a single student from the Dhampasala and scouting took part in there. That was I was a Dhampasala student. I was not greatly involved in the Baladaksa, I know, scouting. And then I targeted the Dhampasala students. But when I make a proposal, the chieftain who is deciding about that refused my proposal, telling the Dhampasala children are fully engaged with the tuition classes. They have only 3 hours. We can't give any hours for mindfulness or meditation or whatever maybe. Thank you very much for your proposal. I withdrew. But later, there's a personal private event whereby just below the Nissarana Vanaya there was a small Dhampasala started, and they wanted to have some materialistic support. I compromise. I will give some material support if you give children for this trial. I put them into, the youngest one was 9 years, and the parents, the elderly children and the teachers came. That means 1/4 of the school, 40 children. And I try my best. And then I ask if I am going to do this kind of a thing again in the next month, who else will be come back? The youngest one also told, Bhante, we are happy. What we did was doing little bit of walking meditation, little bit of sitting meditation, and some other mindful activities. So that went, and I consulted Tara. She was the secretary to the education, and she was practicing with me. Professor Lakshman Jayatilaka, also in our circle, we planned it. Then we thought of giving this mindfulness idea to the grade 4 children and onward, because grade 4 is not with much pressure to the grade 5 Shishatta Vibhage. And then how much we can go. So we were in groundbreaking and the ground level, and while practicing, we discuss in detail when we are going to give mindfulness, are we converting all Sri Lankan school community into Buddhism? Then the panel suggested, what about multi-faith and multicultural way of presenting? Then again, Venerable Jnanaponika's book, The Power of Mindfulness, came to my hand. I told Venerable Jnanaponika is the one. He published this book in 60s, and he as a German indicated, just bear attention. It's a one step below the mindfulness. I translated that as sati matraya. So therefore, we are not going to give the full-fledged, full-grown mindfulness. We give step in step to the mindfulness. So it happened us to write in all the different languages, applicable for all the classes, and applicable for all the religion masters and the religious sacred books. And I am very happy all the religious masters in Sri Lanka completely embraced this. This happened in 1915, before the COVID. And then we had 1918 international conference, and we got down Bhikkhu Bodhi, and Richard Davidson, Bhante Gunaratana, everyone, and they give the support, and we just prescribe by attention. That means sati matraya, the stepping stone to the mindfulness. So SHS Falil was the Hamidia University Vice Chancellor. He was with us. When we are descending from the stage, he told, Venerable, when you are going to teach this one into the Muslim people, they will complain you, telling that we are going to change the Muslim children into Buddhism. Because the same allegation came from New Zealand by a watchdog organization. The New Zealand national class schools must not teach mindfulness because it is Buddhist based. So therefore they protested, but it was not much effective. Sri Lanka also same thing happened. So therefore we worked now so far 8 years with the bare attention, Sati Matraya, and we introduced to the children Monday we are just giving a theoretical understanding of what does it mean by mindfulness. We just say, we tell children through their teachers, you are here now, I am sitting. And when I am sitting, if the teacher is talking, I am listening. Whether mind is distracted or not. We introduce the distracted mind as the monkey mind, after the simile of the Buddha, and whenever you are avenued, when you are adverted, in Tamil we call mulichi, then you know you are with the teacher's subject, and when that happens, your memory capacity will increase and you can grasp. The Buddha says, Chirakatampi, Chirabhasitampi, Sarita, Anusarita. Whenever you attentively listen, whenever attentively you look, whenever attentively you do something, after long time, even after long time, you can vividly, lucidly, you can remember, you can, you feel like you are seeing. Chirabhasitampi, Chirakatampi, Sarita, Anusarita, you can remember. So it was a very, very promising phrase for the school arena, and we convinced the secretary to the education ministry and minister and additional minister secretaries and specifically the Saradharma Saha Agamika, that means religious and ethical values. The other part is health and the nutritional. These sections gave us a full support. And ultimately we planned it. And last December 11th, the present education minister put that white paper into the cabinet. And then onward, each and every school covering 4.2 million children, together with another 0.25 million teachers, whole school sector is introduced with this bare attention. Monday we just tell them about the mindfulness, how to sit silently, how to sit comfortably, how to be aware about my own posture, my own comfortable, symmetrical sitting. When you are walking, how much am I comfortable? Am I acting or overreacting, or just walking or just breathing? Whatever it may be, we are not restricting the particular object. We ask children, when you are comfortably sitting, what do you feel? When you are walking for the sake of walking, for example, without shoes, a flat land, without much of bends, what do you feel? That is the theoretical understanding. Tuesday, we give a chance for them to sit and experience the mindfulness. Before the class starts, if the teacher is having 5 minutes for instance, just ask them to sit comfortably, we gong a bell. We have singing bowls, and when it is singing, the high-pitched sound happens and is slowly disappearing. When it is disappearing, we ask children to listen to the disappearing tail end of the sound. So naturally they become silent. Otherwise they are very, very shouting and unruly. But whenever that happens, teachers found they are avenued, they are adverted, at least for a few minutes. And the Wednesday, we give walking meditation, we give videos and talks and books, and we say, not at the end of the tip of the nose, or on the top of your lip, or rising and falling of the abdomen in a sitting posture. Instead, while walking, how do you feel to the left leg and right leg? It's very dramatic. And that is I find the biggest and the revolutionary finding of the Buddha. I never find such a similarity in other religions. They are talking about the sitting and sometimes anapanasati itself, but no one taught walking meditation. And we Sri Lankan used to have this 1,500 years ago. We were all working on the land. We were touched with the earth. So therefore we were children of the Mother Earth. Now we are utterly, poorly cut off from the earth. We are wearing shoes and we are on the artificial lands, and we can't walk because we are always waiting for the tuk-tuk to come. So that is our generation, and one generation above really can see. So whenever they are going to walk, you would have seen how the young monks are practicing. It is such a magnetizing. Even their teachers can't understand that our young monks have that kind of a trends, that kind of directed dispositions, have their underlying tendencies when you are walking. And we prepare so much of videos, and that is the walking meditation. And the Thursday, we do mindful day-to-day activities, how to brush your teeth, how to have a bath, how to have a meal. And the last day, mindful games. It's a completely, we introduced it, and of course there are a lot of books from the other countries, mindful games. We put what is suitable to the classroom. So this is the way we introduce the bare attention into the classrooms through a cabinet paper. Of course beforehand we have covered already 40% of the schools without a single cent taken from the government. That was the key issue for us to be successful. All our master trainers and artists, everyone was free of charge. And one of the very senior monk from the Pirivena section, he told it's an utter failure in the school because teachers are paid. Children, they know, therefore they don't respect. Even for the monks, you have to hard earn the heart of the child. So with mindfulness, they can do it. So this is the way I can explain the bare attention put into practice. So then when they imagine, when they are practicing, a lot of monkey mind happens. I mean, jumping from your appointed primary object to the sounds, the pain, and the thoughts. So whenever it happens, mind wandered off, daydreaming, fantasizing, complain about the lack of mindfulness, and they feel bad. So we are slowly teaching them, don't feel bad. The monkey mind is not your intention. It has gone. So how often, how quickly you can bring back to your primary object? I mean, how the mind come back at home situation. There we can see whether the child understood the mindfulness, not the bare attention. Some are very sharp. They say, while I am practicing, after 3 breaths time or 3 steps time, mind jumped off for a sound, but after a while I came to know, and when the mind come back to primary object, so to say, the breath or leg, they are so sharp. They say, I came back to the out breath. I came back to the top of the nose. When I am walking, I came back to the left leg or right leg, the heel or the arch or the ball. So then we can understand, once we given the idea about the bare attention, whenever they recorrect them, whenever they come back from the distracted mindfulness to the primary object, we call in our jargon, we call way back home. And we are asking children not to worry, not to get tense. The wandering is the nature of the monkey mind. Your chance is to bring it back to the track. So there we can understand, even though we are giving the bare attention, whether the child, specifically the teacher, specifically the master trainer, whether they got it. So I have to be fully alert with the whole army, whether they are misleading children. They must not teach mindfulness. They must teach only the bare attention. And whenever they are recovering themselves, whenever they are coming back from the wandering mind and daydreaming, how precise, how sharp they report. Today we had the POE day program, maybe 200 children, people, and there were about 10 mindful children. So after the last report was with the girl about 9 years old. She reported, when my mind went off after 6 breaths, a sound happens and then I am coming back. I was coming back to the cool out breath. Not a single elderly person can report that way. So I got the child and asked her to expand further and further. Then I asked on the spot, can you please relate what one of the distraction while happening walking? Yes, when I am walking, I heard a sound. When I am walking, I saw monkeys are jumping into the trees and I distracted. After understand the distraction, when I come back, I can feel the hit of the big pebble on the heel. So that means they are precise in reporting mindfulness. So this is the way we are starting ABCD of the mindfulness. And we are getting from them, rather than teaching them, we just give them bare attention. And once the mindfulness is there, as I mentioned, you can practice in sitting, you can practice in walking, you can practice in day-to-day activities, and you can practice in mindful games. We have 3 books and 30 mindful games already published, and we have tools, and many other donors are there happy to give foreign and the local. The simple tools we are using for mindful games, and then now children themselves come out of their ideas of initiative or creative part. So that is how the Buddha's way of teaching mindfulness come into our day-to-day life. So when I was young, we used to go to the temple and together with, of course, with the mother, and we listened to Satipatthana Sutta. Aranyagato va, rukkhamulagato va, sunyagāragato va, nisidati pallankang, abhujitva, ujunkāyang, panidāya parimukang, sating upattapetva, so sato asasati, sato pasasati. Go into the forest or under a tree or in a silent place, you sit comfortably and take the attention to your sitting posture and do in-breath and out-breath mindfully. No one practice. No one practice. Even if they are practicing, they try to have a long out-breath and then after a while short out-breath. Because that was in the Satipatthana Sutta. But that is not the case. You are not force breathing. You are just let the breath to happen and you are monitoring as you keep on be mindful on the breath or mindful on the walking, chronologically what happened to the breath, chronologically what happens to the walking steps. There you can see evolution, you can see changes, and that is very well explained by the Buddha. And in the Burmese tradition, they are so sharp. When they are doing interviews, they indicate how to understand this under-the-nose experience, hot experience without much of theory. Giving priority to the practical side, and then the teacher helps you. So in Nissarana and in the Satipasala and everywhere, we have lot of dialogues. We have lot of question and answers. We have reports. And there we can understand whether you got the basic instructions and have they put into practice and what are the under-the-nose experience. Other than that, we are not teaching Buddhism. Other than that, we are not teaching Buddhism. But this will give a very good ethical background for the children to relate with their parents, to relate with their teachers, and specifically to relate there with emotions. The very university that I studied, Peradeniya, 8 children committed suicide. 8 children. And Dean is my colleague, Uday Disanayaka. Recently also he came and talked. He says, whenever exam happens, they can't cope up with their emotion. And the love affair goes wrong, or ragging or something happen, whenever exposed, they are committing in such a precise way. He says the ceiling is only 9 feet, rope is 2 feet. They are putting a scout knot and hang them. If they have collapsed down 1 inch time, the foot can touch the ground. So precise, because they can't handle. Present education never give, present religious practice never give that kind of a thing. Because the meditation is completely for the holistic people and the true people. They must have these and qualifications, and therefore people have changing or uncertain mental state. They never go to the meditation centers. Or drug addicts people never go to meditation centers. The prisoners, they never go to the meditation centers. People or children with the adverse childhood experience, they are cornered. But in Satipasala, together with the bare attention, we are dealing with all the people. The children with the age of 13, with the ultimate or terminal cancer, when you go and talk with them, we can say how weak you are. You can't sit, you can't walk, but you can understand you are lying down. That is the way in Sri Lanka, for the first time on the earth, whole education system is with mindfulness, and we start with bare attention. But when you start with this kind of mindfulness, It does not indicate you are mastering the 4 foundation of mindfulness. This is basically covering Kayanupassana. Yata yatava kayo panihito hoti tata tadanam pajanati. Whatever the way you display your body, sitting, walking, standing, lying down, you can be aware. It must not be only in the meditation hall or in the temple, wherever it may be. So whenever such a thing happens, the mind preparedness, we call the prepared mind, where in the scouting, the first and foremost slogan, you must have prepared, be prepared. The Buddha taught is the same thing with appamada. Appamada means when and where something happens, you must on the spot. You must not get delayed. When the delaying happens, Mara, the kilesas will come and exploit you. So you have to be on the ball. You have to face to face with the situation. But I agree, that kind of maturity in mindfulness will never happen overnight. It will not happen by listening to this particular Dhamma talk. You have to practice again and again. I have enough experiences of the drug rehabilitating people, and happy to tell you all, the whole prisons, 40 prison camps are there in Sri Lanka. All the 40s, they have put up walking meditation paths. So they are doing walking. And the prisoner commissioner general is completely coming to our meditation sessions and the mindful training programs, and he give what a kind of people going to the prison, how they are repetitively coming, and whenever the mindfulness given, how much it is reducing the stress, not the prisoners, but to the jailers. And when we are giving the mindfulness, not that it is helpful for the children. You have to understand 86% of the Sri Lankan teaching community is with the stress. America, I heard it's only 73. Sri Lanka, we expected less. And you see the amount of committing suicide. So our education is for the committing suicide. Our education is to send to the people to the prison. Send to the people for drugs. But mindfulness slowly started with the, so to say, bare attention. And whenever, not everyone, whenever someone understands the shadow or the shades of meaning of mindfulness, then it starts gathering the momentum. After the 4 foundation of mindfulness, sati balaya, sati indriya, sati balaya. Mindfulness as a faculty, and then mindfulness as a power. And whenever Jnanaponika's book is Power of Mindfulness. And then whenever the mindfulness becomes powerful, or power of mindfulness happen, how the Venerable Sariputta is putting it, he says, pamade na kampatiti sati bala. Whenever you have some kind of a slip, wandering mind, daydreaming, fantasizing, don't worry. Don't get regret. Main thing is not to worry, then you can come back to the mindfulness. So that is a revolutionary kind of thing. It is only in Patisambhida Magga, even Venerable Jnanaponika's book is with not that quotation. So we can really teach to the armies, police, armed forces, and all the people, main thing is not to worry. If you are doing that kind of a job, pamade na kampatiti sati bala. There may be a lot of slips. Whenever such a thing happens, don't get the mind to or mistake to taken you for a ride. Just be aware, you have done a slip. But how quickly you can come back to the mindfulness? It's a crystal clear, so fresh. So you have to have them, therefore not only in the sitting closed eyes and the cross-legged in the meditation hall, even when they were in the field work, you have to be mindful to see how quickly the mind can come to mindfulness amidst of sounds and the thoughts and the pain. So we do that We do that for the school community in the mindful camps. We have about more than 10 camps we had in foreign countries. 3 days we keep children with us, parents and this thing. We have work with children license. In Sri Lanka also, we are developing mindful camps whereby we give challenges, just like scouting. We are getting a lot from the scouting. And we play with them and we give a lot of risks and together with the parents, and we prepare water game, we prepare flying fox, fireplaces, climbing mountains, and night compass march, all the kind of thing. And that is the way they are learning how to tackle with the emotions, giving in a small way. So when it is happening, power of mindfulness is tested. I am not telling everyone is equal, but we can see how sharp they are, how the meritorious children we have, they are the best for mindful trainers. They are naturally good in training, good in leadership and priority selection. So that is the level for individually for us, how the mindfulness becoming a power. That is, I call, everyone is having this potential, but they have not catalyzed. They are not stimulated. Because our education system is brain-based, not put into practice. But it no harm. It is not no too late. Even the educated elderly people can practice. When the last session we had the Rovana Partsave, Maha, Annunayaka and the Venerable Dhudampala Rahula Thero organized it. And together with them also we played mindful games. They told this is the first time in our meditative life or monk's life we had such a experience in the forest and understood this can be taught. We can learn by teaching. Please listen. By teaching, we are learning. In mindful school, we are learning a lot. My batchmates, 100 batchmates, so they are 10 already passed. All the others are retired people now. I am still learning. I am still traveling. Because now mindfulness is coming to the power of mindfulness, then only it goes to the bojjhanga level, satikvaham bhikkhave sabbattikang madami. Mindfulness is not limited to the temple, not limited to the meditation hall, not limited to the walking path. It is applicable to everywhere. That is, simply say, it is good for multitasking. It is not cut off from the lay people. So we have so much of people promised and they are helping us because they have experienced little by little. We can apply this wherever it may be, irrespective of the clan, irrespective of the religion, irrespective of your cultural upbringing. Mindfulness is such a thing. That is why the Buddha indicate it is applicable for everywhere. And when it comes to the Samma Sati, that means exceeding the Bojjhanga level, the mindfulness becomes broader. Beforehand, it is undergoing some evolutionary changes. Sati sambojjhangam ko bhikkhave bhaveta vivekanisitang viraganisitang nirodhanisitang vossagga parinami. You have to train mindfulness in a very relaxed way. Vivekanisitang. Viraganisitang. Even the mindfulness is disappearing, not to worry. It is appearing again. Nirodhanisitang. You must see how your developed mindfulness is losing, disappearing. Nothing to worry. Vossagga parinami. You have to give that very mindfulness itself. And Mahasi Sayadaw is verily indicated, mindfulness also belongs to the truth of suffering. Mindfulness also belongs to truth of suffering. To go to the Nibbana, you have to give up that also. That is the mindfulness we call Samma Sati. Some people say correct Sati, some people say broad Sati, and many are complaining mindful school telling that we are not teaching Sammasati. Sammasati is the perfection. That's a peak. This is the path. Evolving, slowly going. And we have so much of evidences. And I have so much of years of practice. And they are going very parallel with. So far I had no any friction. And the Samasta Lanka Bauddha Sammelane and this International Buddhist Forum program is a very good platform. Because you all have a very big based and the country, the national identified elderly people. And they are coming to mindfulness is a turning point. Thank you very much, Professor. You have taken so much of steps so far to introduce this into our senior citizens and give it in a revolutionary way, give it in a creative way. The best thing is, with this knowledge, we have to discuss each other. Because everyone is human, everyone's basic potential and the possibilities are the same. I call them human, that is a birthright. Mindfulness is a birthright. It is not a Sinhalese Buddhist. It is not something imposing you, injecting your operation. So therefore, with that remark, I would like to sum up today's talk. We start with the bare attention. Let the particular person to uncoil and understand what is the mindfulness and let it work with your normal day-to-day life. If you wish, you can be a monk. No harm. If you can go to the forest. No harm, but it is not a must. When you keep on practicing, even though you are living in the Columbus heaven, you can have this hermit life. And it is generally will be leading to the Sammasati, and let that mindfulness to do the task. Don't put cart before the horse. When you are practicing, definitely few will go to the Sammasati level. I hope before my death, I can see them in near future. With that hope and wish, I would like to sum up the talk. Thank you very much for the opportunity I got it.
Thank you very much, Venerable Maha Thero. I think the talk was very useful and of course going from the children, for the young children, and of course ending with the senior citizens. I think that's very important. But Venerable Thero mentioned the name of Dr. Tara Dimel. Can I invite her to say a few words?
Is she available in the...
Dr. Tara is here. Where now? Let me see. She is here in the audience, in the attendance. Dr. Tara has she? Dr. Tara, I will now allow you to talk. So maybe you can say a few words because Venerable Thero really mentioned you, and I know that you have done quite a lot. I hope you can speak now, Dr. Tara. Can you, or can I take you into the, let me see whether I can take you into the panelists. I think Dr. Tara, now you are there in the...
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Right. Thank you. Thank you,
Yes.
Dr.
So as usual, whenever Dhammajiva gives a talk, I always put it on my calendar and I always want to listen to it, particularly when it's related to mindfulness. And he has been my teacher since 2011. So I'm enthralled with every talk he gives, although I have heard this over and over again because I learned something new. What I really want to mention, Professor, since you gave me this opportunity, is that the fascinating journey that mindfulness taught by Venerable Dhammajiva, Venerable Chandaratana, and the Nissarana Vanaya with Satipasala, the fascinating journey is how it has reached the school children and the school teachers, and how much it has impacted in terms of classroom behaviors, in terms of managing the emotional upheavals of teachers, and in general managing the ethos, the entire ecosystem, which is usually in a school system very stressed. So that's why I I'm fully supportive of this initiative. That, of course, is in the education sector. But apart from that, I know the initiatives is taken in trying to promote this in the higher education sector, and what a lot of positive impact it can cause if it actually enters all aspects of our tertiary education system. So I always mention this when the COVID pandemic and the time we were all locked in, that was the time it really struck me how valuable this practice is. Because I have been, it was the practice of mindfulness according to the teachings of Venerable Dhammajiva that really held me in good stead during those 2 years. So it has been a fascinating journey for me as well. And daily I learn. And every day I think I learn something new as we go along. So I'm really thankful that you all invited him and that he was once again able to share his experiences and also his long-standing understanding of this topic. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity, Professor Vanaya.
Thank you, Dr. Tara. You were once the Secretary in Ministry of Education, so I know you know the real value that is being created by our Most Venerable Dhammajiva Thero. I just want to ask you one question, since you mentioned about the time of our problems we had on the this thing. Now we are having the Zoom classes, Zoom, and also the physical. Now, do you think that one could really study the meditation and practice it with the Zoom similar to a physical class?
My personal opinion is in-person, face-to-face contact with the teacher. I don't think you can compare that with any other experience. But in the case of teaching those who are not in the same locality, reaching out to people who are overseas, you said at the very beginning that you have participants from almost all the countries that Venerable Dhammajiva has visited. So how else could they get this opportunity if not for Zoom? But then again, even though I said my priority number one would be in-person, face-to-face contact with the teacher, because that's how I actually learned this whole practice from him and at Nissarana Vanaya many years ago. I still think that once the teaching gets into you, where once mindfulness kind of enters your system and it integrates into your lifestyle, when you listen to a sermon on Zoom or listen to a teacher and interact with the teacher via Zoom or Teams, I sometimes feel there is not much of a difference. But maybe it's because I've been doing this for more than a decade. But perhaps for beginners, I would still think that face-to-face interaction would be really valuable, Professor.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tara. Now we have Dr. Sumana Ratnayaka. I think Dr. Sumana is also involved very much on the meditation area. Dr. Sumana, can you just, now Dr. Venerable Maha Thero gave a very good explanation of what has been happening. And can you just speak a few words on what really we can benefit and what your views are?
Thank you, Professor. Yes, I've been familiar with Venerable Dhammajyoti's talks, Dhammajiva's talks very much. Once when I was teaching at the University of Peradeniya, I invited Venerable to the university forums and conferences. And of course, Bhante gave very useful and practically important talks there, and I think many appreciate it. Of course, the continuation of those, stimulations were not that, successful sometime because, that is the life of university, as you know. And however, I have been away from Sri Lanka since my retirement and in Sweden. But Bhante's talk today is really encouraging, as it has been always. So I got some new ideas and some inspirations from the Bhante that we should, take some more steps further with the help of Bhante Dhammajiva. And I should be grateful to Professor Wattavala for organizing this. Of course, you have organized several talks by Bhante and also Bhante Chandaratana. And these are all encouraging and useful. And Bhante mentioned the book, The Power of Mindfulness by Venerable Jnanaponika. And also with the encouragement of Bhante, maybe Bhante is not that familiar that I was involved in translating the Heart of Buddhist Meditation into Sinhala together with another person in Peradeniya University, Asoka Padmini Bandara. So with her, I translated this book called, The Heart of Buddhist Meditation by Jnanaponika Thero into Sinhala. So those of you sometimes, interested in reading in Sinhala, of course, Bauddha Bhavanave Hadavata is the translation, published by BPS, Buddhist Publication Society. And The Power of Mindfulness, as Bhante has translated as Satimatre, they are all quite, useful. I think we can contribute like this to the progress of Satipasala as well. Of course, with the leadership of Bhante Dhammajiva and others who are involved in these projects. That is the impressions that I had in my mind when I was asked to talk on this. Thank you very much, Professor Wattavala, for giving me a little opportunity. Thank you,
Dr. Sumana. Venerable Mahathir, do you have any comments on that? Venerable Thero?
Yeah, so specifically regarding Tara's comments, and now we are filming or making videos about the Satipatthana series we have done in Sinhala. They are in the TNL and others. Now we are translating, we are doing an English medium one. Tara is questioning and try to get the as much as possible pragmatic side of the present day movements. And the second thing is Zoom. If it is without Zoom, we can't have all the contacts with the Buddha. Buddha is already past 2,600 years ago. Now we have the connection through this kind of thing. So still we got something. So therefore best thing, as Tara mentioned, is the direct interact. But we are very successful during the COVID time following. And regarding the Sumana Ratnayakas, there is a translation of the Heart of Buddhist Meditation for the English learning Buddhist monks, English learning Sri Lankan monks, of the one part in English and one part in Sinhala. Dr. Jai Singh and others did. I got a number of copies and I distributed among the interested Sri Lankan Buddhist monks, those who are, they must learn Venerable Jnanaponika's writing and the Sinhalese terminology, and that was the main way I understood the mindfulness and others, because they are German mind and translation is good. So Professor Sumana's job is good, and there's a series, all of them are coming translating, and I myself translated part of mindfulness into Sinhala, and that is how we are making them more go into the popularity. And that is, those are the comments I thought of giving after listening this.
Thank you, Venerable Mahathir. One of the questions that I really have is about the practice. Now, today in Sri Lanka, we find that there is a major problem when you look at the society. Although we are having maybe all these programs and maybe the teaching of the Dhamma, but practice seems to be really a very weak point. Is there any way that we might be able to ensure that this practice goes on well?
Yesterday I did some recording, because Education Ministry the Sadachara Agamic Kataitu, they have given now 20 odd sessions for each and every school. Now they wanted to put them into practice. So what we are going to do is, as far as the school community is concerned, while sitting in the classroom together with the teacher, have 10 minutes, few minutes I gave a guided meditation and the bell gonging sound, and at the end, till the next gong happens, they have to sit at the beginning of the classroom, beginning of the school day. And the other one is in the corridor or in the playground, they have to do a little bit of walking meditation, and that we have introduced the Pirivena, and I just wanted to give it to the Dhampasala also, but there are some friction. But in the universities, we wanted to have mindful space. In the Javadanapura Vishwavidyalaya, we have mindful space and the mindful garden. And Peradeniya also, I had a discussion. I told them, I am coming once a month to Peradeniya. Why don't we have a place and meanwhile get all the psychological instructors, there are 14 Peradeniya itself, give. And we are visiting often the Matara University, Venerable Nanda, Akurati Nanda is giving the full support. And likewise, we try to give it to the higher education also. And I am very happy to tell you all, in Colombo district, all the schools send the monitors and the prefects together with the teachers to the Kaduela. They have one-day program, maybe up to 3 o'clock. And everyone is, some children are very, very naughty children. But when they come to Satipasala, they are the best. And therefore, we had that experience. So therefore, if we can give this fever, this tension to the Colombo, I think that others will follow suit. And what you all are doing also, promoting it in a invariable way. So appreciate, but don't expect quick results. Don't expect big proportion. Even with the help of the Buddha, it was such a little fraction of the humankind understood. So I think Bandula Jayatilaka is available. Bandula, are you the brother of Lakshman Jayatilaka?
Bandula, are you there? Bandula is engineer. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Anything you have to say about Satipasala or Dhammajiva
Bandula,
about...
You can give your comments, Bandula.
Let me go back to my childhood, because I started practicing little Anapanasati when I was a teenager. It made a big difference in my life at that time. I was also mischievous, and although I had ambitions, I was not performing well. But for some reason, I started practicing Anapanasati just for 5 minutes a day. That changed all my performance, and also even it improved my handwriting. I could remember. Earlier it was not very legible, but after some time with this practice, even though I didn't intend to do that, it automatically came to me, and I was well organized, and I could perform well. So that way I can attest to the effects of Anapanasati. And I continued doing it. Actually, I attended Venerable Sir's Mitrigala retreat once. That was also very helpful. And it's really true. And actually, speaking of my brother, when he went to do the PhD in London, he started doing Anapanasati with Venerable Hamala Satyathissa Thero in Buddhist Vihara, London Buddhist Vihara. And he also came back with the same good thoughts about mindfulness meditation. And he had good results from that as well.
Thank you, Bandula.
I have a deeper question, but I think I'll set it aside.
You can ask, yeah.
Is it okay?
Don't keep it too long, because I have to ask questions that have come on the Q&A, so try to finish it soon.
briefly, how does one person takes this bare attention or the sati that starts through the meditation to the Bojjhanga level? And also I can see this very clearly in the Karanimetta Sutta, which says, Yetang sating adittaya, that is associated with the Maitri, which also takes to the Bojjhanga level as well as the development of the Noble Eightfold Path. But when it's just practicing as bare attention, how does this happen?
Yeah, that if you follow the Anapanasati Sutta, the Buddha is explaining from the mindfulness to directly go into the Bojjhanga level. So you have to relate how the doorstep, how the bare attention or the Satimatraya helping you to come into the new arena, which is good for the lowly laities and the worldly life and the efficiency. You can easily understand. And whether you are turning that into the spiritual side or not, I keep it open. Because it's a religious matter. It's the individual, the spiritualism. So therefore, yes. It is good for Sinhalese Buddhist and popularity. But for the others, the opening the diversification of your mind, so you have a large range rather than premeditated ideas. And that is the break-even point in the Bojjhanga. So therefore, we are not leading to Bojjhanga, but Dhamma is leading. That is called Dhammata. That is, I am experiencing, and you people started with mindfulness, I have nothing to teach. But I am talking about newcomers, and they are catching very fast, bare attention, easily they go into the mindfulness, and I am waiting till they go to the higher levels like Bojjhanga level. This is a short answer I can give.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Venerable Thero, there are some questions. One is from Sanjay Jayaratna. I would appreciate it if you would explain briefly about those psychic powers and supernormal powers that meditators get as a result of samatha meditation as mentioned in Vimutti Magga and Visuddhi Magga and other Hindu Tibetan yoga texts. Of course, he has a question also. I'll just read that. My question is not about denouncing and discouraging or encouraging about those powers, but I would like to know whether those are true or just exaggerations added by later commentators. Most of all, I would like to know this from a person who has practical experiences of meditation rather than just by textbook knowledge.
Yeah, that Visuddhi Magga, Vimutti Magga is not telling it is only for the Samatha yogis. The whatever may be, mindfulness can give the bifoc path to the Samatha and Vipassana. The Vipassana also can be only for the therapeutic and curative part. But whenever you go to the emotional literacy, emotional intelligence, you can read the other's mind. We are practicing in the same place. Why should we talk? Why we should not talk and maintain the silence? Why should we behave in a silence way? So this is the way your mindfulness is pervading. It's become contagious. So your presence will be a silent sermon. So limiting that to the samatha is a kind of a misunderstanding. So you better read the book Panditabhivansa Swamin Vahanse, Pandita Sayadaw, in this very life. And he has given Vipassana jhana. No one challenged so far. So therefore, when the mindfulness is developing, it is not limited to your brain, it is pervading. I use the term diversification. So therefore, you have to have the open mind, choiceless awareness, and evenly suspended attention. So you have your own seeds, you have your own potential, you have all possibilities, but your attention is more to the sensuous pleasure. So much so you are blocking the transcendental ESP powers. So when and where you have few minutes for example, try to not to allow the hindrances to come and overpower you, then mind will show how much it is powerful. Or in the sense, you are not with the partial knowledge, you are letting the neurobics to work. Whole neuron system will work. There your knowledge you can understand. Everyone, those who are not practicing, underestimating their capacities, therefore they are underestimating others. They can't comprehend one's own mind capacity, as the Buddha mentioned, pabassaramidam bhikkhave chitta, agantuke upakkilite upakkilita. So once we remove that agantuka upakkilesha, you and me are the same. So then we can talk each other, telepathic, the ESP or emotional intelligence, emotional literacy, we all become human. Otherwise we are sectarianism. That is the what blocking our capacity. But in our age, all sectarianism, you find the politics and the economics and the social field and the kind of thing. But there's a one thing called conscious army. Very limited number of people, they don't care about what the politicians are doing. They mind their own business, they become mindful. And they are controlling the whole world. Otherwise, such a big nations and the big conferences are completely misleading humankind. But still, you see, we are living. Through COVID and through Zoom, we are discussing. That is because we have the good element. So therefore, don't worry about the bad things and the bad this thing, even within oneself. And the day you understand your potential, you will be full of love. You will be full of human. So ESP is a part and parcel of the human. It is nothing new. It is not magical. But many people present day talking, and you can see all of a sudden they disappear. That is because they are go for the gain, fame and all the kind of thing. And so that will explain there. Just like ice. Many people using this ice, 2 years time they will die. So that is what the America is doing, just like ESP. So therefore practice just to be a human being, just to be in zero level, you are the superhuman, then no time.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Venerable Thero. There is, I think some of our Dhamma friends want to find out that if they want to practice mindfulness and they need to get some guidance, what is the best way that they can...
I also can give, if you go to mindful, the www.satipasala.org, there are beginners page, advancing page and the advanced page. So whereby you can see to sit, you have about 3-4 videos, Tamil, Sinhala and English. And for walking, a still higher number. And how to do games, how to do day-to-day activities. So we are advancing, we are going to do the same thing in a higher qualities, and no sooner, maybe 2 months time, we are going to have a radio station whereby we may running about 3 to 4 hours live, and together with all the archives, because now presently we are doing with the Pearl Bay 1 hour a day. Now it will stop soon, and we will be starting that. Therefore, the best source for the moment, because many people are happy with the audio visuals, please visit Satipasala website, www.satipasala. Or if you need any monastic kind of a training or traditional kind of training, you better visit Nissarana.lk. That is our Nissarana video. We have done enough, but we have not given publicity. Therefore, many people are not they do not know how to go there. That is because lack of user-friendliness. We are concerned about that. Otherwise, please put an email to me or Venerable Chandaratana. We try our best to give necessary recipes and the tools.
Thank you very much, Venerable Thero. There is an anonymous question. In order to establish right mindfulness to avoid the mind wandering and reduce thoughts, should one try to increase one's samadhi as well? So increasing the samadhi, say using breath as object, increases the mindfulness too, with effort to advert the mind to the primary object. This way the mind gets sharper to see reality. Why is there much talk on mindfulness but not on right samadhi? Each interdependent on each other, leading to develop other bojjhangas. Is that correct, Bhante?
I mean, there are some ideas. The mindfulness can lead to samadhi as well as panya, and whether it is correct mindfulness, correct samadhi, correct panya, but you have to start somewhere. So as far as the wandering mind others concerned, two methods. One thing is if you are a samadhi biased person or person with cheto vimutti, then you can do it with the samadhi by suppressing nivaranas and have jhanic factors, and vitakka vichara will be reduced in the second jhana. So that's a very straightforward, it is the accepted way. The other one is sati balaya. At the power of mindfulness, you are just facing the wandering mind. You don't consider this as a cancer. You don't consider it as a defilement, because it is not happening with your intention. If it is intentional, it will become a defilement. Chetanam bhikkhave kammang vadami. You understand the human mind or monkey mind, more you observe, more it becomes tamed and under control. Just like psychiatric counseling and free association. There is no medicine. You have to understand what kind of a person you are. So all the people are not complaining with this wandering mind. There are some sounds, there are some pains, so people have. So therefore you may be that kind of a trend. So therefore try both. One thing is by face to face with the wandering mind. The second thing is when and where you have the jhanic factors, the vitakka vichara are the two things diverting our mind from one to the other. In the first jhana you still have them. But understanding that disadvantage only, you go to the second jhana, whereby no vitakka vichara, but piti sukha ekaggata. So that method borrowed from the samatha way and taken to the vipassana when you are practicing, for example, sitting meditation, with noting or without noting, you can keep the in-breath and out-breath in view with. But after a while, even without noting, you can have the breath, whereby this wandering mind and the prolific mental proliferation will be reduced. So please use both. It depends on your personality trait.
Thank you, Bhante. There's another question from Soma De Silva. Much merit to you for such an illuminating discourse on how such a noble quality as mindfulness can be practiced gradually. Maybe time has come to demonstrate the efficacy of mindfulness practice on behavioral and cognitive functions. Well-organized, ethically approved and peer-reviewed scientific research could add much value to your work. Maybe you are already doing this. If so, please forgive.
Regarding the non-contagious detrimental diseases, they selected mindfulness is the only answer. So therefore, they are recommending just walking and just be with yourself, be in the present moment. And that is what we are losing in our day-to-day busy life and in the multitasking. So people are very happy to say, I am doing multitasking. Anyone can't do like myself. I am doing so much of multitasking. Otherwise, how can I function, work with the mindfulness? And I have a universal village concept also. The Nissarana is a full-time job. But I can do. Because I knew it. This is the way of life, present modern life. Therefore, be aware that whenever the mindfulness is continuing, it is giving more opportunities and neurobics get a short circuit. And you can have a quick answers, and that is how you can do multitasking. Otherwise, you can't do a leadership. You can't do the priority selection. I am telling the whole world is not ready for the good for leadership. Whole world can't do the priority selection. But whether you have it or not, by giving mindfulness, by doing nothing only, you develop creativity. You develop the contentment. So these are contradictory. So mindfulness is allowing it through choiceless awareness. Yes, as you mentioned, we are doing it, and we are very, very successful with the young children, and hopefully through children we are going to teach elders.
Thank you, Venerable Mahathera. The Dilhan has mentioned that the Power of Mindfulness book is available on the website. Dilhan, can I suggest you put that website address on chat so that anyone who wants to have a look at it will be able to see it. Then the next one is, I am an Ayurveda community medical officer working in Uva province. Is there any way we can get a mindfulness training program for us?
So we are doing with the Kacheri, and coming 6 I am going to our mindful camp in Nathagani, and very recently we had a discussion with Dhammika talking about the ethics of the doctors. Allopathic and Ayurveda both contributed, very good. But I told, present day doctors are money earners. They don't have ethics. So don't let this be putrefied, because it's an honorable, good job. So therefore, I am very happy we have the Aryacharya Padanama. It's a complete Ayurvedic coverage to the whole island. We have a lot of Ayurvedic sessions, yoga sessions, and mindful session. Please contact me. I am coming to Nathagani, Vayamba Satipasala on 6th, and Kurunagala Kacheri, Buddhist director, she is coming with her child, and they are participating. Definitely, I hope you can get some connection. I am very happy for this trend, whereby Ayurvedic doctors are going to take interest, and I think they can set a very good example to the whole world.
Thank you, Bhante. There are 2 of our members I would just like to say. Uday, are you there? Uday Ganepola, any questions you have? He is in the US.
No. Thank you,
Right.
Lakshman. Thank you, Bhante. It was very inspiring to listen to this talk. No, I don't have specific questions, so I will pass. Thank you.
Right. Senaka, you have anything? Any question you would like to ask? Senaka Samarasinghe from Canada. Right. Okay. I think. So can I now invite Kamal Nilavira also?
I was trying to explain.
Right. Okay.
I saw that he mentioned about this mindfulness meditation, and he mentioned about the problem of brain-based education system. Very correctly explained that. And at the same time, he ended with birthright of mindfulness. Those are things we had to explain, we had to learn from Mahathera. At the same time, as he mentioned, Nissarana, Vanaya, Satipasala, websites, and Aryacharya Padanama, as well as Pandratna Thero's discussions, we always follow. And we missed this time in his visit to US, but we are expecting him in Canada somewhere about next year. Thank you, sir.
Canada, we have already established mindfulness school.
Any comments on visiting Canada or USA?
We have established mindful school in Canada, specifically in Winnipeg and Toronto, and nowadays I am applying for the visa also through that establishment. So we have Uday Annakage and Kalpani. They are organizing our whole videos to make it more user-friendly. They will appear in website in the user-friendly way. So Canada and Australia are the 2 countries. Already now we have established mindful schools, singing and songs, and government-registered institutes. So I think we are slowly developing according to their own constitution. It will be a news for Senaka.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Venerable Mahathera. Now we just come to the final stages. We have Mr. Kamal Nilavira, who's based in the UK. Kamal, can I invite you to give the thanksgiving and pay merit to Most Venerable Dhammajiva Maha Thero for the conduct of this Dhamma program.
Sure, thank you. Thank you, Lakshman. Nissarana, on behalf of the International Dhamma Program, we want to thank the Most Venerable Maha Thero Dhammajiva for the most interesting and educational Dhamma session today. Much merit to you, Venerable. It was really interesting and you touched on very practical issues of life. Mainly, I was very appreciative when you mentioned mindfulness is a birthright. I think we all should take note of it, and I think all our Dhamma friends worldwide, totaling to more than 245 Dhamma friends today, were inspired. So I want to thank you very much for your comments about the vision of the International Dhamma Program. Professor Lakshman, whatever has been doing a great service to all our Dhamma friends worldwide with this Zoom program, and we will support him to the best of our ability to make it a success. So once again, Venerable, much merit to you, and thank you very much for the most interesting Dhamma talk today. Nissarana. Thank you.
Sadhu,
Thank you, Kamal. Can I now invite the Most Venerable Dhammajiva Maha Thero to transfer merit to Devas and the deceased?
So we have spent already 1.5 hours or little more, and I hope we have contributed wholeheartedly. Therefore, we have developed so much of good thought moments, pure thought moments. I hope we can share it with all the living beings, seen and unseen. So we do it with traditional chanting of the stanzas. I will start chanting. Those who know may follow. Others may listen attentively. Ittavata ca ammehi sambhatang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ittavata ca ammehi sambhatang punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ittavata ca ammehi sambhatang punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Akasattha ca bummattha deva naga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva cirang rakkantu sasanang. Akasattha ca bummattha deva naga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva cirang rakkantu desanang. Akasattha ca bummattha deva naga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva cirang rakkantu mang parang. Idang vo jnatinang hotu sukhita hontu jnatayo. Idang vo jnatinang hotu sukhita hontu jnatayo. Idang vo jnatinang hotu sukhita hontu jnatayo. May we straighten our objectives as well as remember